Not at all.
Turn it up down here, man.
Underestimated and still I made it. In the book of hard knocks, I'm highly educated. Nobody chose me, looked over, but still dedicated. Played in the league for 13, I ain't gotta be favorite. 2 Super Bowls, Honolulu, I stood with the greatest. The thing is this, that never rich, I'm good with my neighbors. DB precision, television, ain't asked for no favors. Numbers don't lie, neither do pictures, just look in the papers. No backing down or turning back, part 2 of the movie. Never the biggest, but it takes more than 2 just to move me. Ain't gotta like what I'm saying, just watch me go to work and tackle all of these topics right here on Face First.
Like I'm a 12-year guy, I understand that. But I'm also a 12-year guy who didn't miss a practice.
Yo, welcome to Face First Podcast. This is our first time on the road, so this is like Face First on the road for the first time. So we're here at IMG. It's a pleasure of mine. We have Morgan Wells. He's the director of speed development here. He's basically taken over this place to run the combine, but there's a bigger story of how we got here. We worked together at Traction Sports Performance. He's honestly my right-hand man when it comes to DB precision, but there was a journey for Morgan and Mo, as we call him, to get to this place. And so, first off, man, I want to welcome you. I'm excited.
Yes, sir.
That you're
here.
on. All right.
It's beautiful times. Great times.
Yeah. So, like, the first thing we want to talk about is we're both from Louisiana.
Truly.
It's we grew up in different places. I lived in New Orleans on the West Bank. You grew up north, but many of the struggles are the same.
100%.
And shoot, you ain't standing up, but you ain't a big dude.
Yeah.
Right. But one of the toughest cats I know. Grew up with your mom. That was something you two had to deal with in getting you to where you were now. So talk a little bit about growing up where you grew up and kind of the struggles of getting out of there and how you did.
For sure. So being me, I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana, raised by my mother, single parent home, or her and my grandmother. Much kudos. They did everything they could. Coming up, I wasn't always a bright young man. I went through my trials and tribulations, got put out of a couple of schools, just a stereotypical young black man for the most part. And I was blessed enough to be able to come out of that, arise out of that, staying out of the streets, staying out of the fights, staying out of the school trouble. And I really, it's really a testament to my dedication to sports. Mm-hmm. So sports, sometimes it's cliche when people say sports saved my life, but it's true. It's true. So me growing up, I played tennis, basketball, soccer, baseball.
You was who in tennis though?
I was decent.
You was fast. That's what you were.
Fun fact here. My grandfather grew up playing with the father of Venus and Serena Williams.
Okay.
So he's from Shreveport as well.
Right. Definitely tennis royalty.
Yeah. So
black tennis royalty.
Truly.
Yeah.
So and then they all moved out to California. So my mother's from San Francisco.
Okay.
So before they moved back with my grandmother to Louisiana, and then somewhere on down the road, here I am. So I had it in me a little bit, but it was the same time as track season. So I was like, I'm not playing that.
Here's my question though about tennis.
There we go.
Did you wear Jordan shorts?
100% not. 100% not. I had the little Nike green tennis shorts. I was decent.
Right.
I could get to the ball. My backhand wasn't very solid, but here nor there. Football as well. I was DB. Mm-hmm. DB, slot wide receiver, kickoff return, punt return. I was fast. I was pretty decent in my position. So, I was a decent athlete, but nonetheless, growing up, I was blessed to have a different mindset from a lot of people. And I was also blessed to be able to be an intelligent young man. So I got in a lot of trouble, but I also made straight A's. So, there's kind of if we can just get him to relax a little bit, he's going to be good. So, but also I was never the best at what I did. I was just always the hardest working, so I wasn't always the starting safety, but I was always the hardest working. I wasn't the best hurdler on my team, but I was always the hardest working. I wasn't the best test taker. I didn't have the best GPA, but I was always the hardest working. So I took that into my personal life and into my career, and it paid, up to this point, tremendous dividends. Having that same work ethic and passion about what I do and how I come about.
Right. So when I met you, it was after working at LSU, being on the strength staff with Moffitt and working with track. But your journey to LSU was different. Now when people talk about you, it's former hurdler of the LSU track team. And when you hear LSU track team, I'm just going to be honest. I don't think 5'6" human.
100%.
Right? You know, like when I picture you running hurdles, I feel like I only see your head over the hurdle when you actually jump over it. You know, like you see, what's my man in Florida now? That went to Florida, just left Holloway.
Yes, sir.
Like I stood next to dude. He's a large human,
big dude.
Right? And so
Not small.
And so when I think track, when I think hurdler, that's what I think. And then I meet you and I understand you more so the same way with me. Wasn't the best, wasn't the fastest, but you went to McNeese first.
Right.
So what happened? What brought you from McNeese to LSU? And how do you make that jump? Because usually people move down.
Right.
Right. In college,
yes,
we're going to move down.
Definitely.
But you make that step up. You know, what was that process like for you, and what made you make that decision?
So coming out of Shreveport, Louisiana, I ran for Captain Shreve High School, and I ended up, I was decent my junior year. I had a couple offers my sophomore year, but junior year I was decent, and senior year I kind of exploded. Ran pretty fast 300 hurdles, ended up ran in 38, 37, and the thing is I was decent enough, but my height was always a thing. Even in high school, I know I had to be the best technician in order to beat the taller guys. So I ended up going to McNeese. I was supposed to go to Louisiana Tech, actually. But my best friend, Tevin Remo, he ended up not getting into Louisiana Tech. I was like, man, wherever you going, I'm going. We're going to go together, and we're going to run the show. So he ended up having to go to McNeese. So I was like, man, I'll come too. But the environment and the culture wasn't, I knew that I needed better. I know I wanted more. So I went down there. I was all conference, top 10 in the conference, doing really well. I was on full scholarship, but something within me said, you need more. Just the environment. I got tired of people saying, oh, where you go to school? I go to McNeese State. Where's that? So, I knew that I wanted bigger, and I also thought bigger than track. So I was like, at some point, what am I going to do after this? What can I get out of a career at McNeese State University? So I definitely want to thank everybody that's there. They gave me a shot. They gave me a chance. And, it was a good experience, a learning experience. I crossed there as well. I'm an alpha. So
we all make mistakes.
So, the Greek life, the best life. But the path wasn't smooth to get to LSU. So I ended up leaving. I left before I turned down my full scholarship for my next year at McNeese State without even knowing if I was going to have a spot at LSU, without knowing if I was going to get into LSU, without knowing where I was going to live, without anything. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to bet on myself. Something that already, I always do. I always bet on myself, and I've been that way my whole life. So I reached out to the coach. I made the decision. I had to go to summer school. I had to take, I ended up taking 4 classes in one summer semester just so I could be able to transfer and get into the school. I didn't find out I got into LSU until late July. School starts in August. I didn't find out I was going to get into LSU until then. So I get in, rough first semester. Things were so easy at McNeese. And I was like, man, I couldn't run because I was ineligible. I was taking extremely hard classes. GPA was extremely low. And I was like, all right, Mo, what you going to do? Are you going to fold? Or are you going to, make it happen? So the spring turned around. I got my mind right. I got my things together, turned it around. And then the upcoming years when I made the team, I was on the team. Didn't know how I was going to pay for school. Didn't know anything. Ended up being on a full scholarship through the school, so I didn't have to pay anything for school. And it was just a testament of, once again, faith and hard work.
Yeah. And so you get to this point, right? You go through these different things because it's obviously extremely difficult. One, to make the jump from McNeese to an LSU.
Definitely.
To have kind of the understanding of self-worth, also the self-awareness to think I have bigger things planned for me than what I can get here. But then you get into it, and sometimes it's like, yeah, the grass is greener, but not in the spot I'm in.
Right.
And so you go through all these things, you get your opportunity to run, and then you get some news or you deal with some things that most people can't understand dealing with. They don't understand that while I'm trying to do all of these things and I'm trying to accomplish all of these goals from a sports perspective,
100%.
There's life and death.
Right.
Like one day I'm cool running, the next day they're telling me I got a tumor that might be bigger than my head, and I'm making it a little bit different. But I've seen the pictures and I understand. Like I know what you have gone through. How did you find out you had the tumor, and what was your first initial reaction to hearing that was something that you had been dealing with,
right,
and now had to get taken care of?
So firstly, going back to the symptoms, growing up, I always had bad nosebleeds. So my mom always just attested to, you're outside a lot, you're a little kid, you're in the heat, you spend the majority of the time outside, that's what it's from. Cool. I've had the tumor for 15 years is what they dated it.
And how old were you when you found out that you had it?
When I found out I had it my senior year of college.
So what, you were 21, 22 years old?
I was 22, right.
You had it since you had 15 years, so since you were 7.
Accurate.
Wow.
So with that being said, I go throughout my whole life, and then the symptoms just kept getting worse. So throughout my college years, I was having terrible back pains. I was having terrible migraines. When I got to LSU, I was having terrible, what I thought was like stomach virus type stuff. And I was throwing up. I'd travel and go to track meets. I'd be sick the night before. If there are 6 practices in a week, 3 of those practices, I was lightheaded, woozy, feeling like I was about to throw up. But if you ask anybody on any one of my teams, you couldn't tell that. So I had to fight through those things because I'm realistic about my position. I know at any point, just like being in the NFL, if you're an undrafted free agent, right? You know that at any point, if you get hurt, you're out. Yeah. So I know that, and they'll replace me in a heartbeat. We can only have so many people on the roster. So, I just toughed through it. So my senior year, I was getting ready to get done running. It was the week of national championships. I had already started working in the weight room with Coach Moffitt as an intern with the strength and conditioning staff. And I'll never forget, it was like 4 or 5 in the morning. I woke up with a migraine, and that was so bad I felt it in my teeth. So I was like, man, this can't be right. I'm calling everybody. Nobody answers. So I tell Coach Moffitt, I said, Coach Moffitt, hey, I called him and Eric Donovan. I said, hey, man, I'm going to be a little late. Let me just go to the ER and make sure everything's okay. Then I'll be in about a couple hours. Of course, they were cool with it. So with that being said, I get to the hospital. Somehow I got there. I don't even remember. I drove, but I don't remember how I get there. Ended up getting a ticket that I found out about 2 years later from the red light. But nonetheless, I get there and I start, do all the tests, and everything's negative, and I come to find out later on that I was possibly about to have a stroke, but everything is negative. The blood work, the x-ray, all the tests, the initial stuff. Luckily, there was a doctor there that came in and that knew me from LSU. He said, what's up, Mo? How you doing? How you feeling? So I gave him the rundown. He said, okay, well, let's just get a CAT scan to be sure that everything is everything. So I go get the scan. He comes back in. He's like, yeah, so don't want you to panic, but you have a huge mass on your brain. He showed me. He said it's possibly a tumor. So
were they going to do the CAT scan had this doctor not walked in?
Not at all. I was about to leave.
Okay.
They got fluids in me and gave me IV. I was feeling a little better. I was about to go back to the weight room. Probably would have passed out in the weight room. But nonetheless, I'm like, okay, so at that immediate point, so I get it from my grandmother. My grandmother never panicked about anything. Mom, completely opposite. Big time panicker.
No, my baby.
Oh my God, he's out. Get the casket. So
what suit you want to wear, baby? Who you want to speak?
Yeah, I was on my way out, but to me, I didn't panic. And I think that's what kept me sane and calm and helped my recovery throughout the whole process, because I was like, okay, what's next? I'm going to be okay. My faith is that strong and going through that ordeal. So they tell me, then I have to do a full MRI. I'm in the MRI for like 2 hours, man. It was serious. I called my mom right before I went into the MRI. Think about getting this call from one of the kids.
And so she waiting 2 hours though.
Well, the thing is, because I called, it was like 5 a.m, so she had just got off work. She works overnight. Called, said, hey, Mom, I believe I have a tumor. I'm at the hospital right now. I'm about to get in the MRI
Please
machine.
tell me to leave a message.
She was on the phone. She answered. I said, hey, I have a tumor. I'm at the hospital about the MRI. I'll call you when I get out. Then I had to get off the phone because I was about to go in the MRI machine. I could only imagine what she did from there.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm a father. So, one, the MRI would have been late. You might have died before you got in, because you're going to have to explain to me what the hell is going on.
Right, 100%.
What you mean you got a tumor? Like, I've been around you my whole life. So, and two, when you're not a part of the situation as a parent, it's scarier. Like, if I had something going on, I'm good. you know, Jaden Jordan or Logan got something going on, I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah,
So for
I'm out.
you to
You
call
out.
your
Take
mama
you out.
and go get an MRI, you probably should have passed out because of that.
Yeah, 100%. So that was probably the fastest she's probably ever gotten to Baton Rouge from Shreveport. So she probably hopped in the car immediately.
Right.
And, memory is a little foggy from there. I remember, you know, getting the MRI. They had to check me in. I had to call Moffitt back. And so the thing that amazed me most was the amount of support that I got during the process. You know, I mean, it came from across the country. You know, I was on a lot of media platforms, the news, TV, everything. And also a testament, if you don't have health insurance, get it.
Yeah.
Because it was like a $500,000 ordeal. You know, luckily I was on my mom. She has really good insurance, and at that time, and I was like, man, well,
Right.
how much?
Because you die.
Right. And the thing is, the system is set up to where they're not even scheduling your surgery until you pay that deductible. So it's like, we need $2,500 before we can do anything. I'm like, what? You serious?
Yeah.
I'm a college student. A college student that's an intern at that, you know, coming
Right.
from a single parent background. So for me, $2,500 was like, we in trouble. So
Right.
that's when I raised the GoFundMe. Ended up in like a matter of a week, ended up raising like 30,000. Bills totaled out to be around 50, but something I've taken care of over the years, and it was tremendous the amount of support that I had. And you know, I was in the hospital for 7 days. It was from that Wednesday I was in the hospital 10 days. I'm sorry. From Wednesday, I had to wait till the next week to get my actual surgery. So got my actual surgery, and it was supposed to be a 4-hour surgery. Ended up being 7. I had two procedures actually. The first one was an embolism where they have to go in and kill the nerves. The second one is the actual resection of the tumor.
Right.
And the AC unit went out for the embolism, that procedure. So I'm supposed to be under for 2 surgeries, but they was like, hey man, we got to get it out, but you got to do both surgeries in the same day. So the first one I was awake. Most painful experience I've ever, next to a catheter, most painful experience I've ever had, you know, but got through it, of course, and got the surgery. And, you know, I was blessed, and they told me, hey man, you might not be able to walk. You might not be able to talk. You might not remember anything. So we just want you to be prepared for when you wake up, you know. And I always remember the doctor came in the next morning. I had already woke up, ordered breakfast, thinking nothing of it, you know, ordered breakfast. And I only remember waking up before that at like 3 a.m. because I had the tube and they had taken it out. I said, I needed water. I need water. So yelling at the nurses, and they're like, we can't give you water. Found out 2 seconds later why they couldn't give me water, because they gave me water and I threw it all up. But the next morning it was smooth, man. Walked around the ICU, and I was in the ICU for like 2 hours. They let me go approximately like 2.5 days later. And, you know, after that, you know, I think why Moffitt was really impressed with my dedication and work ethic, because after that, my head was the size. If anybody knows, and Leonard Fournette definitely knows, because he making in this situation, still making fun of my head. I went back to work like 10 days later after that. You know, as soon as they told me I could drive, I was out. You know, I was back at LSU football ops. That's when we had the pain cave. But the whole ordeal just gave me a different outlook on life. You know, it gave me a different outlook on everything that I had endured up until that point. Because, I mean, you know, my life could have ended it several times growing up. But that one being the biggest one, of course, and just helped give me a new perspective on every day.
Yeah, as somebody who's, obviously I had a different medical ordeal, but when you come that close to thinking it's over, and I'll be honest, I was a little different. I had allowed myself to go to it will be over.
Right.
And I think the reason I did that was because, you know, I have a wife and I had babies. And so I wanted to do my best to cover them in prayer and be accepting of what was happening to me, because I needed them to be able to accept it. But 100%. Then even in that, I was like, but I ain't gonna die though.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I'm gonna do all this.
Yeah, but I'm good.
But I'm good.
Yeah,
and just because you don't, I think when you're in it, you feel like you can overcome anything. Like your
Superman.
Faith, your faith is different in yourself, and you're probably wrong, you know.
Definitely.
But I also remember coming out of it, and I woke up on a Tuesday morning. I had my surgery on a Monday. The doctor comes in, and kind of like your doctor who came in and saved you with the CAT scan, they only let me go take a test because I called. And he even said it. He's like, man, I was in New York. I had given you that test 3 times. I just let you go because you called me.
Right.
And he's like, had you not called me, you wouldn't have made it through the weekend. And so my thought is, God is in that. Right? That's the reason I picked up the phone. God is in it. That's the reason the doctor comes in the room and says, okay, let me just give you a CAT scan mode so
100%.
we can see. But I also remember what it was like waking up and going, oh, crap. I'm still alive.
I'm still, yeah.
So
yeah,
once you get to that point, are you planning sitting in that hospital? All right, here's my move. Here's my next move. Here's where I want to be. And this has to start now because just like you said, you could have lost your life growing up at many times. It's like, no, this one was real.
For real, for real.
So does it reset you and have you and give you a clearer vision on what your path is to be from that day forward?
100%, because at that point, before that, I was planning on doing the summer LSU. I had just got admitted. I wanted to do my graduate school program at Texas Southern at HBCU, get my master's there. I had already picked out apartments in Houston, and I was ready to move to Houston. And it was just the simple fact of the mere support that I got from LSU during that time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here for a while and see what I can get done here, staying on staff. And that's when I stayed on staff, had made a full recovery by the grace of God. And then that's when I went to New York to work for Exos.
All right, so you've bounced around. So we've been to, you were at Exos, you were
Yes, sir.
at Traction Sports Performance, which is where we met and started our relationship. And then, you kind of fast forward through all those things, making decisions to be in a better place. Like I remember working with you and I knew, I was like, hey, man, he's going to be here for a short time, but it's going to be a good time. It ain't going to be a long time.
Definitely.
And I was like, all right, so how can I learn and continue to get better with him? And how can I help put him in a position to where people understand how talented this dude is? And then you have this great class at MJP last year. I mean, Rashawn Gary, McCole Hardman, guys who get drafted high, guys who do extremely well at the combine. What's it like to go from where you make the decision to be with Coach Moffitt and to finish at LSU to having a class like that and really being the man that slides you is a real thing now because of that. Kind of take us through what it was last offseason being at MJP.
So, leaving Traction, I did right at 2 years there. I think that was my longest stint after I left Exos. And it was just crazy because of the timeline, like when I was at Exos, I told my boss, I was like, hey man, I'm really good at speed, and y'all should let me do what I do. Instead, I was working at sports marketing, sports science, and some sports performance. And I was like, man, let me do my thing. I got y'all. But, they were stuck in their model. So then I came to Traction and you gave me the platform to be able to showcase my talents, staying there, proving myself, and then getting the call from MJP, talking with a couple people from there, Brian McCall and Jessica DeFiore, and going there in the spring, it was different. I got to learn more of the business aspect of it. I had a full staff and a full team, the good and the bad side of the business, but I got to learn, even more so how to deal with a lot of high-level athletes at the same time, how to pay extreme attention to detail. So my time there definitely made me a better person. It definitely made me a better teacher and educator. It made me a better coach. So it was good, man, getting to work with a lot of different personalities. I had a lot of different personalities, but seeing those guys go to Indianapolis last year and succeed the way that they did, that's the greatest joy.
Right. Yeah. So we would talk about it, and you say, hey man, Rashawn Gary is going to run this. McCole Hardman is going to run this. And,
definitely.
And you have to have a certain eye to see those things, but especially when you with those dudes every day, you start to develop expectations of them, and the other part is like you develop hope. You're like, yeah, I know you can do this, so now I hope it happens. When you see those dudes go out and perform in the way that you have trained them the whole time, what's it like? Because people don't understand when you get into this business, that becomes your game, right? That becomes your measure. Those are your wins and losses. So how does it feel to have guys go perform well and show love now that I see them in the league the way that they do? Right.
Time old saying, numbers don't lie. They really don't. You're only as good as your last performance. So my last year, I don't count what I did, so much 3, 4, 5 years ago. I count what we just did. And that was phenomenal what me and Brian McCall were able to do at MJP. And, it's just so good to see because it's high risk, high reward. Because if you mess it up,
Right.
oh, that's on your head.
Right.
You can mess up one class.
Mess up other cat's life.
Yeah, that's
the other part.
That's millions
Right.
of dollars, So if I mess that up, I'm on the hook. That's why I take it so serious, and that's why my retention is usually pretty high because they see the genuine care that I have about their success, and it's not just about a dollar sign with them. To me, I really, really, really want to see those guys win, and so it's a reflection on both of us. My hard work and effort that I put into it, and their dedication to the process, because the process is different from anyone that they've done before.
Right. I think, when people look at it, right, you see there are facilities that pop up everywhere.
100%.
And everybody wants to train. And I say this, and I do not mean it in a negative way. It is legit the new drug dealing.
Yeah.
Right? Because people feel like, all right,
Training,
I can do this. I've run
yeah.
before. I've played football before.
Definitely.
I don't want a real job.
Yeah.
It's like rapping, right? Or singing. And singing, you probably have to have a little talent. Rapping,
gotta have a little rapping.
You ain't gotta have that much talent.
We can make it. I can drop a mixtape.
Right? You drop my beat
I
code.
could definitely drop a mixtape.
It's gonna be cool, but you can drop one. And so now you look at that. You have this success at MJP, and obviously I talk to you. Like through the decisions. I'm not saying talk with them or help you make them, but I'm saying you telling me, RC, I got this popping off at IMG. I could do this. And so now you come to IMG, you work throughout the season. I'm seeing you're at this game, you're at that game, you're talking to different players, and you're trying to make sure you can build a roster here. I mean, I come over here, it's Swift and Delpit and Fulton and Jefferson and Chasson, all of these names that we've heard all season.
Right.
How did you, one, cut down your list to where you're like, okay, these are the type of guys I want to work with?
Right.
And two, how do you eventually get those guys to become a part of Slide You or a part of the IMG Academy Combine program?
Right. And so that process, a lot of facilities, and I only speak on places that I've been or things that I fully know of. I don't speak without knowing. I always speak about something I've been through or been around somebody that's been through it themselves. Never he say, she say. So that process itself, I never go reach out to guys that I have absolutely zero, no connection to. If a guy comes to me that I have zero connection to, likely it's because an agent that I have a connection to brings them to me. So most of the time it's guys that I've talked to before, worked with before, I have trained somebody that went to their school and knows them very well, and I did exceptionally well with them, and they want to, and they reach out on my behalf. So I rarely ever go in with zero connection to them, because everybody needs to have it's not what you know, it's who you know and how they know you.
Right.
So with that being said, you have to have a good rapport and have a good resume of results when reaching out to these guys. And so when I reach out or if I go to a game and I go, talk to these guys or talk to their teammates about talking to them, it's pretty smooth because they have something to work off of. I don't like doing a lot of dry calling because I'm not trying to train everybody. Right. I have zero desire to train 60, 70, 80 guys in a year. I told everybody here at IMG I was going to have 20 dudes this year. I got 20 dudes this year. So, I didn't want to go over, didn't want to go under. That's what it is. So that process, lost a few, gained a few, and it just is what it is. Guys make their own decisions, but I never hold it over a guy's head. I always tell these guys, and anybody who chose somewhere else can tell you that I say, hey, man, it's all love, whatever you need, man. During the process, you need to send me videos for me to look at. I got you, because at the end of the day, it's about these guys' success. At the end of the day, it's about these guys going out there and making the most money possible, making their families proud, making their friends proud, doing themselves a good justice at the NFL Combine and at their individual pro days, and going out there and continuing to develop their name and who they are.
Yeah, and I think people will listen to this and watch this and think to themselves, all right, how do you get into it?
Right.
How do you get people to trust you? Because in the end, you are not selling anything.
Right.
Right?
Not at all.
You have to say, this is who I am. These are my credentials. These are the things that I can bring to you.
Right.
I want to give them to you wholeheartedly, but they got to believe in you. They have to trust you. And I think obviously it works well when somebody gives you a recommendation or somebody links you, but also they got to come here and see it.
Mm-hmm.
So right now you have this class with all of these top-notch players. You have first rounders. You may have the first running back off the board, the first safety off the board, one of the top wide receivers off the board. When you get those guys at the facility, when you get those guys on the ground, from a relationship perspective, what is it that you focus on making sure they know right away, they understand as well, and you make sure you deliver on?
The most important thing to me is, one, making sure that they know that I'm accessible. I probably get 50 FaceTime calls a day throughout from everybody.
Right.
You know, making sure that they know that I'm accessible and that I'm here for them. Number two is making sure that they know that I know that they're comfortable. You know, I want this to be a low stress, high energy environment because they feed off of me and they feed off of what I do. Even if they're the number 1 draft pick, a top 5 draft pick, whatever it is, a lot of these guys still need guidance. They still need and want support. So we have to be here to do that. And I also make sure that everybody on our staff knows that as well, you know, in a positive manner. So, and those are the 2 main things, you know, hey man, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, whatever it is, I got you. You're going to be good. You know, building that rapport, building that trust, and not just saying that, but when the phone rings, I answer it.
Right.
You know, I have a couple guys that are in the NFL right now. They FaceTime me at 2 a.m, you know, because they're out in LA and if that phone rings, I'm going to answer because you never know what could be going on. You know, if these guys trust you to come in and to trust you with their process, you know, then that's who I have to be. And I'm perfectly okay with that. And I've got these guys here and hoping to take them to the next level as well, as I've done guys before and even in the NFL offseason as well.
So you've had all this great success, obviously having success recruiting at IMG right now, and this is the private sector. This is a little bit different than team. You develop your own team. So what is your end game, your ultimate goal in this profession or another? Somebody would say, Mo, where do you see yourself in 15 years? Where would that be?
Right. And a common theme I always get is guys always ask me, why don't you just open up your own place? For the record, zero desire to open my own facility.
Right.
Zero, because I've seen the in and outs. Like, you have to respond to so many different things. And the revenue, I don't want to spend another 10, 12 years, you know, building something up in the prime of my career. I'm not even prime because, you know, my name is just now starting to rise up a good amount. And say, I mean, I make a good amount now. If I go down, and I get, you know, sometimes you have to take a pay cut to get a pay raise. I live and die by that. But with that being said, no desire to open my own facility. You know, I could go attain money in other ways. I want to invest. I want to, you know, get into real estate, get into properties, get into tech. That stuff's different from my actual occupation. That stuff can make money on its own in a sense. So with that being said, college, there's only 2 colleges I would go to work for. You know, NFL, I prefer if I did NFL strength and conditioning. I have some options here, you know, when it comes to my long-term goals. NFL, I would prefer to only work in Texas or Florida. You know, I will go anywhere. Right. But Texas or Florida, no state taxes.
I already knew why.
Man, it's lovely. I was working for Exos and living in New Jersey and working in Manhattan and seeing that was my first exposure to taxes. Man, y'all are paying me a lot, but real tax. Like, I've been, you know, doing little jobs and getting paid and having to file taxes, but it hit different up there. And you know,
I've been there. I played for the Giants. I don't think young people quite understand expecting to make a certain amount of money
100%.
And then getting a lot less than that. And the part is, too, they show you minus such and such. That's what hurt me. Man, I don't want to see how much is minus. Just take it.
They take so much. So, but with that being said, if I was at IMG for another 20 years, it wouldn't faze me at all. As long as my yearly map is where I would like it to be and want it to be, as long as my monetary compensation is where I want it to be, and I'm able to develop something here that's not anywhere else, I have no problem being here. You know, so long term, but I don't really chase titles. I don't really chase positions. I chase states of self-contentment. You know, a place in life. I want to be happy. I want to be content where I am. I want good weather. You know,
Right.
And I want my family to be taken care of. I do a lot for my mom. I do a lot for my grandmother. I want them to be taken care of. I want it to be somewhere where athletes want to come train and be great and be a part of something special. And I chase a state of mind, a state of peace, a state of tranquility, rather than chasing a title. Or chasing. I want to be the CEO. I want to be the head strength coach for whoever. I chase rather a state of mind, a state of stability, whether that be mentally, financially, socially, whatever the case may be. That's what I'd rather attain long term than just trying to chase a title, because God will put me in the places that he knows that I need to be in.
Yeah, I think, one, I appreciate you coming on, and I'm glad we got to cover a lot of what made you who you are, because we're obviously a part of our experiences. Also, who made you, right? Talking about your mother and your grandmother, and now seeing where you are now and what you are allowing people to do. I'll end with this. We have a different type of friendship. People say people are their brothers, but not often do you get opportunities to show people that you will cut and ride for them in real time. Right? It usually happens once it's all said and done. You sit around and you're old and you decide to have a beer and you go, "Hey man, you remember when this happened? Remember when that happened?" I don't think people get opportunities to realize what relationships are and how relationships evolve. Right. And I can tell people from our relationship, I remember meeting you. I didn't hire you. Right. I walked in the room. There's like, "Hey, this dude becomes highly recommended." If Moffitt says it, it's golden. Yeah, right. In truly. Louisiana, they love him. He's this dude. He's that dude. He has this talent. He's going to work here. And I remember sitting down with you the first time and talking to you and going, "Dang, dude's really smart." Right. And he's really hard working. And I remember having the conversation of, "I know you won't be here forever. While you're here, I'll try to do whatever I can to make sure that you're happy and you're fulfilled and you're whole." I knew the place wasn't big enough for you. And you build it up and you start to become who you are, and you go to MJP, and I sit and I watch your success there, and I'm happy. And I love to see it. And then you move here, and how relationships work. It's like, "Hey, RC, would you come to IMG?" Now, I don't leave. Yeah. I like to be at my house when I can be at my house, but not only are you someone I care for and someone I place value on, but you do things I place value on. And I think it's a beautiful evolution when you see somebody, at least on my end. I saw you walk in, I knew who you were, I knew who God had made you to be, and to now see you begin to walk in that and other people understand it, it's truly a great thing. So I continue to wish you well. Obviously, we'll work together going forward, but if there's one thing, like I know what I know about Mo Wells, if there's one thing you want people to understand about, whether it is how you got here, why you here, or where you plan to go, it's your floor. What would you like them to know?
I think that I would like them to know, most importantly, that I've gotten to this point by, when it comes to my work effort and my dedication and my perseverance, I don't tell a lot of people no. And I say that in a good way, because people say, "Oh, I tell people no all the time." But when it comes to things where I might have to sacrifice time, I might have to sacrifice something that maybe I don't want to do, to be in the situation. If my boss at the time needs me to do one thing and I plan on doing something else, if they need me to get somewhere at a certain time, they need me to stay till a certain time. I've gotten to this point by not saying no a lot, one of the best abilities is availability. When it comes to wherever you're working, wherever you are in life, whatever your relationship is, making yourself available. So I think that was one of the big things. And to me, honestly, right place, right time. When you get an opportunity, you really, truly have to seize it. You really have to truly take full advantage of where you are. So when I got a chance to run track in college, I took advantage. When I got a chance to run for LSU, I took advantage. I not only took advantage of running for LSU, I took advantage of the vast resources around me. There's, at LSU, I can do a lot of things at LSU that a lot of people that were in my same position, being an athlete at LSU, can't go there and do. And I don't take that for granted. I can walk in certain rooms, I can talk to certain people. And that's because I went there and I built relationships with people. I did things the right way. I handle myself the right way, and I continue to carry myself the right way no matter what capacity that I work in. So my path here, you know, it's been bumpy, but it's also been fruitful because of the hours and dedication I put into it. One of the most special classes to me was the one that we had in traction, because it wasn't full of first rounders.
Yeah.
It was full of a lot slower dudes, you know, but some gritty, want to work hard.
They weren't highly touted, weren't highly scouted, ranked.
All,
yeah.
You know, and we moved those guys up. Yeah. You know, we moved those guys into a special place.
And now, you know, I think the other piece people should know is like those are our guys.
Definitely, 100%.
You know, they rock with us, we rock with them, and I think in this business you get an opportunity to touch so many people. Our goal should be to make lasting relationships, and you do that two ways. You do that by the way you treat them,
right,
and by the way you train them.
Right.
But eventually the training is going to be done.
Yeah.
So the relationship that you have built is what keeps you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I know I definitely wholeheartedly agree with that, because, you know, relationships are what bring a lot of people to me. Mm-hmm. So I just have to continue to do a good job. And I also thrive myself on not being envious of what the next person has or what the position that the next person holds. My first thought is to collaborate. Mm-hmm. Always, no matter what space I walk in. Anybody here at IMG can tell you, and I probably know more people here than most people in one program or department know, because I go and I walk into every office, whether that be accounting, whether that be the media department, whether that be talking to the campus guards, whether that be talking to the hotel concierge, whether that be knowing everybody on the nutrition staff, speaking to all the mental coaches, being, you know, close and collaborative with all the strength coaches that work in my same capacity. It's always about collaboration. Mm-hmm. You know, not only what can I get, what can I give? Right. You know, and it really brings me to a special place, because now I have an opportunity to also give other people opportunities. You know, entry-level guys coming in, I can make recommendations. And one of the biggest joys for me is not only helping athletes, but helping people in this realm of sports performance and athletic training get jobs here or other places based on my recommendation, because now just how somebody else's name holds weight, mine now holds a little bit too. So if I tell somebody, hey, they're good people, you know, check them out, at least hear them out and interview them, 9 times out of 10 they do it, you know. And that's really special to me, because the athletes are the athletes, but it's extremely hard to make it today, you know, with just in the workforce in general. So being able to help athletes and people in our realm of sports and healthcare, you know, I don't take that lightly, man. It's truly a blessing, and just hoping that we continue to grow and blossom and help these athletes get the results that they desire. Man, get every penny that they can get, you know, because they say money don't buy happiness. Being broke don't buy you anything. So, It's always good, man. I'm in a really good place here at IMG. I really love the opportunity that I've been given here. You know, plenty of resources here, and I truly, you know, having been at the top other facilities in the world, man, the atmosphere, the resources, the staff, it really doesn't compare to anywhere I've been before. It's truly different, you know, and to be able to call this home for the time being, and I'm just eager but patient to see how the future unfolds, what is presented to me, and, you know, just to continue to grow as a young man and a young professional in this career path.
Well, I mean, talking about blessings, you were a blessing to us. This is face first on the road.
On the road.
I often can't say that in closing, but I said it today. So DB Precision's face first. Our guest, Morgan Wells. We know him as Mo Wells. We appreciate you. Slide you. And obviously we'll hear more from you in the future.
What's up?
I am my dog.
All love, baby. Yes,